All right, here we are. Cool. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I have no idea where everyone
Good
is.
afternoon.
So cool. So I guess Sakshi, we are hanging out to chat. It's over to you.
So hey guys, first of all, I wanted to introduce everyone to you, Nick. Um, I'm Sakshi Kumar. I'm an Indian photographer, and I've been in NFTs for about 2 years now, almost. And then there's Ibrahim, he's from Iran, and he's also been in the NFTs. We've met through Twitter. And then there's the brilliant Yalda, and then there's the amazing Brioni. I wanted them to introduce themselves. But basically, we have come up with don't okay, yeah, that's way better. But we've basically come up with a collaboration, and the idea of that was essentially that how everyone's doing a collaboration these days. And it's definitely the way forward is what everyone has figured out. But the the issues that we faced while step by step through this collaboration was that we had the art, we had the story, we had actually a quite a brilliant story, and the work, even though we're all different and we're all from different places and these images were taken in different times, like set of times, they all kind of blended and came together beautifully. And the amazing part was that we couldn't find any platform that wanted to do like collaborative but sort of tokenized drops, like tokenized drops in the sense that, like, what I thought was that why would we make, like, say, one-on-ones or auditions under the same banner, but like, let's say each doing their own, right? Then how is that a true collaboration? Because our work is really cohesive. Our work is actually quite amazingly cohesive. So that brings us to the question that how could we, as four individual artists, come together and form a sort of a token that is for all of us, and it could be then a series of tokens, right? A series of tokens and a series of drops. So not just a single drop, but more like a seasonal drop, so, or like a quarterly drop. Um, Again, and it could become larger than the four of us, and or continue being the four of us. But the idea was that uh, you know, how do we do that? Like the technical part of it. Um, because everything else that is like the platforms that we have currently, they don't quite allow us to create something like that of our own with their tech. So this is where I think when you came up with the solution and saying that let's do that, let's create a bundle and a series, but under one token. I think that's really brilliant. And then to have this idea, which you had, was to make it interactive, to take it a step forward and make it somewhere where we, all of us, everybody, and it's just more exciting, isn't it? Because photography, like that's I think that's my favorite part about Web3 is that we can kind of step up our own game as traditional artists, like traditional photographers. So I think that is a very interesting angle to it as well. And I mean, we would love to hear how can we achieve something like that, because honestly, with our drop, I would kind of give like a tease of that. It's more of it's more like scenes from a movie. Let think Wes Anderson, or think the classics, basically black and whites, and imagine four people from around the globe coming together and creating something like that really organically. So I think this has not been done before. The artwork is again really, it's come together so beautifully, and I can't thank everyone enough for their efforts. Um, so yeah, I mean, that is kind of like the brief of how we've gotten here and what's the ideology of what we want to do. We don't want to individualize the drop. We want to work as a team and kind of make this possible for other artists as well in this space.
Got it. Okay, cool. So, we are talking right now at almost like 10,000 feet. We're gonna need to bring it down to almost ground level so we can start talking about the technical requirements. So, what we need is more clarity on the business requirements. Yay, there's Ibrahim. Hello.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me? Can you
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
me
we can hear you.
clearly?
Yes, we can see you and hear you.
Yes.
Um, Yes. So what
Yeah,
we
perfect.
we need to do is to really get the business requirements very clearly articulated, so that then we can think about the technical requirements. So I get a good idea of the vision, but what we need to do now is kind of talk in very specifics. And a good way to talk about that without revealing a lot is to just use like, you know, person A, person B has artwork, one, artwork two, etc., and you want artwork one or two to be X. Like you can speak in those terms. That way, you can keep it where you maintain your mystery and for your project. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like keep
Mm-hmm.
it kind of generic. So as I understand it, the idea here is that you have a series of images. Each photographer has one or more images.
One,
One.
just
All right,
one.
so there's four images at this point.
Yeah.
So n equals four. Okay, so we have a group of four. Okay, and what we want to be able to do is do a drop where whoever buys it instantly gets all four of those tokens, right? So you want
Yes.
one token that actually represents four images.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm taking notes because I forget things very easily. Uh, okay, um, and those images are somehow
Hmm.
connected, right? They're
Yes.
they're Are they sequential? Do they have to be in a particular order?
No.
No. Okay, no sequence. All right, but they could be, right?
Yeah.
They could be. Yeah.
All right, and what are the reveal characteristics of this? Like when a collector buys that, do do they get to see all four at once, or are they time delayed, or are they some trigger delayed in some way?
I do believe that it would be beneficial to kind of do like a reveal delay so that if somebody, assuming it is a market and assuming that not everybody wants to diamond hand it, so somebody could take multiple editions and probably flip it while the delay reveal happens, um or something. So I think the delay reveal could be a good mechanism to implement.
And this is multiple editions, yeah. I Sorry, I should have asked that earlier. It's,
Limited edition of the same like four images token, like one token. So I'm thinking, um, I mean, we're yet to decide how many. I mean,
yeah.
that entirely depends on the demand that we get to understand. Where basically the idea was to again bring together all of our past collectors, all four of us, and do like a very limited reveal in a gallery that we choose, and then we can take all our collectors and show them like a preview of what we're planning, what the images look like, and also offer maybe a better price, um, just for our past collectors. Um, you know,
Okay. Visualize for me this token. Can everyone mute their mics while you're not speaking? So, Ibrahim, there's a lot of noise from your microphone. If you don't mind muting, um, thank you. Visualize for me what the collector's experience is with respect to the media. Forget about the tokenomics and all of that kind of stuff. The media, especially, how do you want them to interact with it? Are they like, let's say, all four have been revealed? Are you
Hmm.
imagining that they are seeing that, I don't know, as a grid? Are you seeing that as interactive, where they click on each photo and it switches to it, or is it automated where it just animates through all four? What have you given any thought to that?
See, ideally, when I think photographs, I think slides.
Okay.
But that's sort of old school now. So I think in that perspective, we can all discuss and brainstorm and think of what could be the different ways beyond the layman slide show of
I-
Okay.
photographs.
In my
Because
mind,
yeah,
just
Tony.
because they are photographs and they are these standalone images that are also part of a collection. I mean, I had just assumed that they would have four individual pieces of work that they can enjoy as individual pieces. You know what I mean? So they're not always they're together, but they're not necessarily like you don't have to. It's not something that, okay, I see this one for 20 seconds and then this one for 20 seconds and then this one, like it's not. I don't know, I just assumed it would be more like sort of walking into a gallery and there are four pieces on a wall that are intended to be seen together, but they are. Anyway, that's a complicated question all of a sudden.
Yeah, and also, uh, it has other ramifications. We have to understand that current marketplaces don't have any ability to support anything beyond a single media thing, right? Etc. So you have to keep that in mind also. So let's like, I love your vision. Like I'm imagining myself like a giant white wall, and there's four canvases hanging there in a grid, and you're just looking at all of them simultaneously. you know,
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah,
your eye gets drawn around them, but yeah, I think to sort of anyway, that's it's so funny when you're in this world and you just think, oh yeah, well they're just going to be anyway. That's so all of a sudden that's something to consider. I'll just add it to the list in here.
yeah. I mean, there could be the possibility of having your cake and eat it too, where there is a single media item that is all four,
Can you hear me
yeah,
clearly? Can I
in
add my opinion
quadrants.
as well?
Sorry, Ibrahim, you're saying something?
Ibrahim, can you hear us?
Mm. Anyway, so there could be two views of it, where you see a single image that is quadrants, all four, which uh, doesn't do justice to any of them. I get that. But then you could click on it or something, and then the expanded viewer could show you whatever visualization we end up saying
Mm,
it's needed. Yalda, what do you think?
interesting.
I said, what do you
Sorry.
think?
Uh, yeah, I was listening because it's a really amazing collection for me because we all there is a strong correlation between cinema, and movies and photography, and it could be a bond between them, especially in these days that's in so many parts of the world, especially my country, people sometimes lost their connection with the reality, and they try to, believe in something that can bring them some imagination. So I think there are four separate inspiration by separate photos that inspired by movies, and also they all together can make another movie that anybody can have this power to create story behind that. It's just something like AI, but manual AI. I mean by that is what I mean by that is people. Maybe there is no order. They imagine that, wow, maybe it can be a whole movie, and also we can see another movie in each of them, and all of us are inspired by one individual, one specific director. So I think this how we present this for photo together should make this opportunity for buyers who want to, for some buyer that have this potential, that they are movie lover, maybe, so they want to have one, but they like to have one piece, but they have this opportunity to have four, and now this is like that they have four different pieces of a puzzle, which can be separate story by each piece,
Yeah,
so I was thinking that how we can present this, that it's one topic that we can just say something about this project to them, without seeing anything, without saying any preview that you will buy four movie or four piece by a specific movie, or we can show them that, okay, you have this part. And I really want to know what you think about that, Nick, because I know that you are really professional about this, because all the time the people who buy something, there are not people who maybe be curious about the story behind a project, or maybe they are, I don't know exactly.
yeah. No, this actually is triggers some thoughts in my mind, which might address like how the delivery of it. Like it could be that when you actually buy the token, what you get is a link, and that link allows you to go and see all the photos and order them however you want, or exclude if you
Mhm.
want, and publish a video from it. That's a custom video of yours, and that becomes one unit then of the four photos. That's one approach to it. It could be that you can order it, and it stays, and you still have a sequence of images. Uh, uh, Essentially, what I'm saying is that we could give the owner, the token holder, the ability to sort of edit the visualization, and it would,
Mhm.
in order to remain truly decentralized, uh, obviously, what it would be is that the last owner, whatever visualization they chose, stays, because the visualization would require access to a secondary application, right? And that's not truly decentralized, that's centralized. So if that application goes away, then what do? Well, whatever the last state was stays, and that's fine then. Like that's decentralized still, because you're only
Mhm.
centralized for editing the visualization. So every owner, like, so you have 100 owners, they can each have their own sequence or presentation, and we can have different presentations.
I
You
love
could
that.
you
I
could
love
even
that.
Yeah.
allow potential
Like music.
music, or crop, different ways to crop the images. Like that would take you away from the photographer's vision though. So now we're getting into dangerous territory. But you could have potential ways to do some subtle changes on the images, uh maybe add a color tone or something to it. I don't know if they're black and white. Like th- think out of the box. Like we can do whatever you want. Literally anything you want is possible with the images and
You
visualization.
mean that we
Ju-
can manipulate the collection by, individual choices? Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Uh-huh.
and hit
Yeah.
publish, and boom. Yeah, so each person gets a
Mhm.
unique visualization of the images, the four
I,
images.
I just to add my 2 cents. I mean, I am a bit of a purist and something of an egomaniac. Not really, but kind of. But I mean, I love the idea of people being able to select an order, maybe have them presented as an MP4 as opposed to 3 individual JPEGs or what have you. I love the idea that people can add music to the things. I would hate it if someone came along and suddenly colorized my photograph and this, that,
Yeah.
and the other, because then when it gets represented to other people, they will think that those are choices that I have made, and I won't have made those choices visually. But I love the idea that people being interact with them in terms of order, potential sort of presentation, and audio. I think that that's a really nice personalization. But other than that, I think that the images as they stand are things that we have chosen, and I would like for everyone's visual choices to be maintained.
Yeah,
But
absolutely,
Definitely.
and that's why I use the term "we're going to dangerous territory." Don't
yes, I mean
definitely,
it's
yeah,
but the idea that everyone can look at these things in a different way is actually really nice, because of course everyone
Quite valid
more
as well. Yeah,
yeah
I love that. Mm.
okay, cool, yeah.
Especially,
So let's stick with the with visualization constrained by order, appearance, transitions,
yeah
uh,
yeah
things
like
like
the
that.
basics, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
the fun stuff as well.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
So
And
finally,
and audio.
so sorry. So what you mean, Briony, is that we should have this power as a publisher or as an artist to make an order for them, or potential some order for them, and then they can choose or make their film, their movie by transaction, all the some effects of cinematic effects and order and music, so they have 4 separate photos that finally they can even choose to see them as a film. Yeah, am I right?
Well, I mean, at the moment I'm currently in the middle of turning all my slideshows into MP4s. So I'm just, that's just where my head is at right now. It's just a way of people being able to watch photographs as video. But but I mean, that's just that's a decision that we would all come together to make. My point was that I think that giving people access to too much change um,
Mhm.
Yeah.
doesn't
or
serve
yeah,
us.
or being the
Yeah.
prerogative. Yeah.
It
I
doesn't,
think the best way. Yeah, I think the best way to think about this might be that someone gave you a Google Slides or a PowerPoint deck where the slides are canned, but you are allowed to change the order, you're allowed to change the transitions, and you're allowed to create what happens when you hit play.
Yeah,
And that's basically it. You can't manipulate the individual slide, but you can change how they appear as a quadrant, two at a time. They have window blind effects between them or whatever, those kind of things,
Can,
and so
can I?
so yeah,
No, go ahead,
go ahead,
Nick.
Sachi.
I just wanted. I just quickly. I had this pop in my head. We could
Mhm.
we could make like a survey where basically people get choices. Um, let's say 4 options each. Like for example, what kind of music do they like? Right? We could give 4 options, and the customization would basically lead, or even the style of, for example, movies, right? So we could give them different directors as options, and each option selected could lead to a specific customization. We could give them, what kind of music genre would you like to select? Um, Correct? Again, 4 options. And all of these like different selection of options could lead to specific changes that we have pre-customized, and we then essentially, what that means is we know what's going to happen with all these sort of um we already have decided that these are the alterations that we're okay with, and we therefore make these selected options as a survey, and then kind of release the
Yeah,
interactive art as
I
a
I
like the
surprise.
idea of
I really like
canned
that
scripts.
idea.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's a really really nice idea because yes, we maintain some control. The only thing that I would the only thing about that is an audio factor because of course people are so very specific about what they, but I love the idea that actually there are, okay, so we have four images and then there are also four different ways of looking at them, each of which we have sort of come together and I mean I
Then
think the
we
idea is
then we
genius.
make the music audible. They can listen to it and then choose. How's that?
Well, I mean, listen, I mean, again, I think the idea is really, really sophisticated and brilliant. It's just a question of getting it right. That's all. But I think it's a great idea, genuinely.
So you're saying that you have a certain set of visualizations that have been selected by the artists, whether it's 4 or 10 or whatever. Like as a group say, well, so Sakshi, you have three ways that you like. You add those to the mix. Yalda has, and so Brianna has, and so on. You know, so and those are the ones you can choose from versus you individually going and making your own choices, right? So you choose the one you want.
Okay, here's a just devil's advocate thing: is that um, okay, so we're presented with, let's say we've all chosen two, so there are 8 different ways that you can view these things. Does someone who's collecting those then feel as if they are being, as if, when they're given the options, would they then think, oh, but I'd also really like to do it like this, and so that they then feel constrained by the options? Do you understand what I mean? That
They go
then
buy
that
the
they,
Then they
second
that
edition
they
and
buy
make it.
the
Yeah.
second edition. That's the
Yes.
that's the part that if you that it's a game, right? We're only like it's like added benefits with each edition that you get.
okay, right, okay, you're way ahead of me in terms of how you're thinking. So okay, then don't listen. I know nothing.
No. I mean, the fun part is that we are making it more exciting in the sense that, let's say, not only are they like eager to see the reveal of what the 4 photographs are, but they're now also eager to interact and sort of see that what are these choices leading up to? Like, what is this amazing? Like, these are the 4 things I like. Like, say, for example, I like puppies. I like rainbows. I like whimsical. I choose the random word whimsical. So these 3 choices lead to it's like giving prompts into AI. You don't know what's going to show up, right? But as artists, we know what those prompts lead to, right? So we have
Right. No.
predetermined.
And so my point was that so they maybe they don't like. Oh, maybe they don't like any of the. Anyway, it's okay. It's I'm just thinking. I'm just sort of playing the devil's advocate here. But no, it's of course
Then,
we're
I
only going
mean,
to give them wonderful options.
we're going to give them wonderful options, but also at the end of the day, let's say they're only collecting it for the 4 images. They still get the 4 images, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then we will also give an option of none of the above, just as a go. So as plain and simple, for somebody who just doesn't want any music effects, doesn't want any slide effects, doesn't want any visual additions
Got it. Got
of
it. Got
any
it.
kind.
Cool.
So we'll be like none of the above. There you go.
Cool.
Standard.
Okay. You got
So
it.
I have a question. If, for example, think that uh, I buy one token, okay? So I want to sell it again in secondary market. So I can choose each one to sell it again, or I should sell it in whole collection, or I can sell the video that I create by the images.
Yeah.
I got
So that comes down to how we choose what the user experience is, right? So let me just tell you one. Okay, it's only one possibility. We can do more, but a possibility is that when you initially mint, right, you have the basically there are two states. Either it's been there's been created, or it's not been created. If it has not been created, then the link for the media takes you to an application. The application allows you to make those choices of which visualization do you want, and then you
Mhm.
hit publish, and it emits a video, and that video then is baked in into the token. So now you have a standard NFT, just like everybody else, like, right? So then
Yeah.
it's business as usual. It's business as usual. So
Mhm.
whoever came first and bought first, they had the choice to create that, and that became the token forever after that. So that's one way. The second way is, in fact, there's an infinite number of ways. So I'm not. So a second way is that every person, whenever there's a transition of ownership, that
Mhm.
option to change it becomes available again, and they can change it again. So the new owner can change it to whatever they want it to be, etc. That becomes I think, a little more ambitious, because then it requires that that app be available forever, which is fine. It's a possibility, but there is a possibility that someone might buy it, but the app is no longer available. I don't know. You know, we went our separate ways and no longer decided to pay for the hosting for the app or whatever, and it's gone. But the idea
Mhm.
of doing it at initial thing when you launch it, that's reasonable, because then it's a matter of maybe a week or two or whatever it is, during the launch period, that an application is available. And it's also, I think, uh sort of from a storytelling perspective, fair. It's like I bought the initial token, I created my vision of the story, and now it's baked in onto the blockchain. And whoever else wants my story, if I decide to sell it, can have it. Yeah, very
We
faintly.
wait, yeah. It's like somewhere.
Very far away.
You see, so I think this model might be actually quite workable if you guys are good with it. Where when you initially buy, there is an uncreated state or unpublished state, if you will. And you know how when the reveal hasn't happened, you see that animation, like people put all the possibilities there. So you're seeing that initially, but you can then bake it, and it becomes an MP4, and you can add audio and all of that kind of stuff, transitions,
Yeah.
etc.
So do you think that four piece is enough for some scenario like that, or maybe
You can have an infinite
this?
number. I mean, but I think there's a certain number at which it becomes too much. I think maybe 8 or something might be better, because it gives you a little more variety, you know
Mhm.
And I don't have another piece to add to this thing right now. Like I don't, and I think the idea is, I mean, the fact that we have four, and that then, we do multiple collections, like we do seasonal, as you say, drops, that each one, that we have a theme, and that then we have, I think if we're starting to sort of, oh, now there's 8 pictures, and it to me that just feels messy. I like the idea that we've got these four, and then the next time we'll have another director or theme or what have you, and there'll be those four, and that we've all actually created a piece to submit to a specific theme. I feel, the whole point is that these are sort of like little movies within one frame, right? Like these are
Yeah,
movie stills. So as soon as we start to add more, for me, that feels a little bit grubby. It just feels like we're grasping at straws.
sure. Your comment actually triggered a thought. If these are, like, as you said, seasonal, um should the would another option, so I described one option where it's basically publish and bake and you're done. Another option would be it's very dynamic, but that is in contradiction to what we discussed earlier, where the user sees one at a time. But I just want to throw this out there. Cou- could we have it where the photo transition is thematic, based upon stimuli, right? So for example, if you have four images and it's supposed to be uh morning, afternoon, evening, and night. Uh, Whenever you're looking at it, you will see the in morning. You are going to see the morning image. When you see the afternoon, you see the afternoon image. So you don't control it. But like, so if the theme was one day, for example, you know, so you could
Mhm.
have them change based on time.
Can you hear me
And then,
now clear?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
we can hear
finally.
you. Yay.
Okay, perfect. This website is filtered here, and I really have a dreadful. Everything is dreadful with internet here. So I'm glad that I'm back. I heard all the points, and I wanted to mention something. The reason that we changed our opinion to a smart contract was, first we wanted to launch it on Nifty Gateway, and we spoke with many publishers, and some of the good ones were agree. But our problem was uh, that we wanted to do it all together. For example, if we do it on Nifty Gateway, all drops are separate. For example, one of us can sell 5, one of us can sell 20, one of us can sell 10 pieces. But we wanted to do it as a real collaboration. For example, we are one token. From this part is everything simple. We have one token that when the collectors collect it, all the money separate to our 4 wallets. Until this place is clear. But from now was a little complicated that we thought about a smart contract because we wanted when the collector collected the token, for example, when we push the reveal button or when they collected the token, automatically they saw 4 pieces from our wallet to their wallet, to their, for example, foundation. And we found a great point about this. For example, when we do it together, first, it's like a same movie. It's like a main real sequence. And the stories are connected together. And the other part was, in the end, for example, uh, we sold the same pieces. For example, all of us sold 10 pieces or 20 pieces. It was the reason that we wanted to do it on a smart contract. And the question is this possible or not? Thank you.
Yeah, so Ibrahim, you joined the conversation a bit late, and I think you might be missing up on a lot of the conversation. So I think if you go back and listen to the stream, you'll see that we've answered a lot of that already. And so, if you don't mind, in the interest of time, we'll kind of continue to go down the path of finalizing the business requirements here versus rediscussing what we already discussed, if that's okay with you.
No problem. Okay.
Yeah. So just to be more efficient. Okay, so we are talking about unifying the thing. I mean, it's not 4 individuals; it's one thing. So that is a sure thing. All right. So this idea that I proposed of the buyer being able to choose from a set of experiences you have, we should have a name for that. Well, yeah, we can call them experiences. So a set of experiences you have all created together, and that can be a little more than 4. That can be 5, 6, 8, whatever. But it always comes down to 4 images, right? Arranged in different ways with different presentations, and then that generates dynamically an MP4, and that MP4 is what gets baked into that token. And does that make sense? Is that
That makes sense to me. Does that make sense to everybody else?
you're muted?
I can't hear you, Sakshi.
I'm sorry. That's basically one NFT, and I kind of like that because that's like a true collaboration. So if anybody wants to sell as well, eventually they sell all 4
Yeah, like it's
together.
where it's a yeah, and I think that's really important because the great part about what you suggested initially, Sakshi, was that yes, that this is a group, like it's one organism, and I think that's really really important just moving forward for, potential future drops. It's like, yeah, you're always like, this is it's a thing. It's a little animal.
Yeah. So
It's
essentially,
really early in the morning for me. I'm still in dream state. So I'm still thinking about animals and,
No, I love
so,
that. I love
so
that
what
we're
we've
doing.
introduced here is the notion of a publisher at the point of purchase. For the first purchaser, there is a publisher option that's available, and you drive what happens to the token. It becomes a media item, an MP4 item, which then maintains compatibility with all the marketplaces. So it's a done deal. So the excitement here is for the initial buyer, and if they choose to hold it, that's great. If they choose to sell it, then the secondary person has to take whatever they've generated. There's no choice anymore, right? So then, like shifting from the user experience to the seller experience, what we essentially want is at the point of time when you create this, you define the splits, whatever they might be, as many people as needed, and what the percentage split is for each person, and so that any sale, essentially whatever funds are, they're automatically split instantly among whatever the list of splits are. Is that right? That's
yes,
what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Okay.
Also, um, just to keep it safe, because um, we have to also consider hacks. We also have to consider um, like what kind of cyber security are we offering, and how secure are we? Because that was initially my primary concern. So we could, in addition to promoting our drop, we could do like interactive spaces where we, along with talking about our drops, we could hold seminars around cybersecurity, tokenomics, smart contracts before the drop. How's that?
I don't see any security element to this. What are you thinking? Please elaborate.
So I'm thinking, let's say, to be completely decentralized, we'll be creating our own sort of website for the smart contract. Is it or not? Or just manifold?
Just for like the person acquiring the tokens, etc., there's a web page and the editor associated with it. That's the pattern. So as we are talking about this, while I'm speaking in specifics about you and your use case, in my mind I'm thinking of it more generically, is this pattern of collaborators coming together, having artworks that then at the point of purchase goes through a visualization step, and then gets
Yeah.
baked in as an
Where
MP4.
is the step? My thing was, where would be like introducing the step? Because is it our own website, or is
Yeah,
it
I
an
mean
app that we
it's just
create? How?
it's just a web page that's hosted
And
somewhere.
um, let's say, because the idea is that uh im- how do we also install this thought that what you're clicking on and the page that you're going on is safe? Because that's one of the critical, like, nobody wants to um connect their wallets into an unknown
Uh,
territory being, and they will have to, I believe, like, to make those changes and then implement that on the blockchain.
yeah, I mean, at the point of when they are purchasing it, obviously you cannot do this on a marketplace because they have no capability. So you have a website for that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, uh, you're buying there, so obviously you have to connect your wallet to pay for it. But in that same transaction, like, you purchased it, now you go on to the next step. You go ahead and generate this, you sign a transaction, and then it gets minted. So uh, I don't know that. I mean, I don't like when you talked about cybersecurity and all that. It seems a bit like the scope seems
broad.
much larger than it needs to be. This is
Yeah.
very basic. It's a standard web page. You have standard security associated with it. I don't know. Uh, I mean, you know, it's not like you're some unknown person sending them a link. They are voluntarily coming to the web page. You can see it's authentic. I don't know what else you could do to convince people. You know,
I was thinking we could hold like all of us together, especially the artist and you, Nick, if it's possible, we could do spaces in collaboration with Nifty Dreams that we want to educate also Web3 for what we already know. Like, let's, for example, even what we're talking about right now,
hmm
the specifics of it, we could do spaces where we talk about it more freely. There's question answers, Q&As, and we could also, it's also essentially also telling everyone what are we coming up with, along with just interactive spaces about different topics that actually are on more on the educational front. Does that
yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I understand what your concern is regarding trust or whatever. So we can certainly have this as an application on our platform, so it's on that domain, so it's not some random domain or something like that.
Yeah, because
uh,
four photographers haven't done this before,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I
I get that.
don't want it to be a dud.
Yeah, no, obviously we'll think through this and make sure we dot the i's and cross the t's, etc. Obviously then the we need to get into, I don't want to get too early into the technical aspects of it because I want to think through the
Mhm,
business requirements first. But at some point we'll
mhm.
have to think about, okay, is this feasible using a standard contract? So if that's the case, then that's great, right? But if it's not feasible, then what we would need to do is decide like what are the characteristics of that contract. And the main thing that uh, we have to think about is the splits. So your standard contract won't address the splits. If it was just about ownership, then it would be easy. You would use a multi-sig wallet, and the problem is solved. But when we talk about splits, I have to go and look and see if Gnosis Safe or other multi-sig wallets support any notion of a split. I'm pretty sure, 99% sure they don't, but I can go check. But that becomes the variable here. Yeah, we can explore. I'll go research that and come back pretty quickly with how to do it. So you guys are ready, right? You have your photos ready.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think the thing we have to do now is think about this like a real application. And I'm sorry, but it's going to require a little bit of work. And that work is essentially what we do is mock this up. We wireframe it kind of about what the user experience is like. We think through what are the prompts the user gets, what buttons they click, etc., and work through that. So we start off with very rough, and then we make it more fleshed out, and then we just go and build it, like we as a team. I'll get it built out. but uh but yeah, we need to think through the experience. It needs to be kick-ass user experience. We can't have anything half-ass. So what I can do is I can start a Google Doc, Google Slides actually, and we can start thinking about the steps, like what steps, and we can comment, collaborate, and iterate and come up with the final how this would work. And essentially it becomes the model for an application that we build that is about um,
Excuse me.
collaborative. Bless you.
Bless you.
uh, it's about collaborative creation. So what I'm thinking of is these are 4 photos, right? But there's nothing to stop 4 or 8 or 16 artists from coming together with 2D artworks or whatever, or even videos. And what we are talking about here is an application where you start off with static content with collaborators, but the final content is a video.
Love that. Love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Uh, and uh, what we should do is, if our application is truly to be successful, is give the owner, and I'm throwing this out there, you tell me if it's terrible or good, is give the owner the ability to access any of the individual assets also if they want to.
I'm uh no.
No?
That would be the purpose. What do you guys think?
Really, you're muted. You think so?
I don't understand the question. So when you say individual assets, you're talking about each individual image.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think that as Sakshi said, that defeats the whole purpose. It's, you know, that's I mean, what we're trying to do is actually present a new form of collaboration, something that is, yeah, something new. And so for people to say, well,
That
that's
hasn't
great.
been done before, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least
So
we have four, you know, I think amazing photos by four professional photographer, you know. But when the theme is about cinema and you know, the bond of cinema and between cinema and photography, searching about different ways of presenting these photos in, especially in NFT space, that can prepare so many different perspectives to
yeah,
looking at art, you know. So yeah, I'm really curious about the result, because I'm really like to working on you know, as a photographer, I'm really like to working on photos. That's okay. What is my another option to, you know, working more on photo. And on the other hand, for presenting is I think 50% of each, you know, artwork. So if I was really enjoying to listening to you guys to searching about what can we do for new presenting way in NFT space, because everything could be the first thing in this space, you know. After
yeah,
us, maybe so many other artists join to our group or another groups and working something like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
working on new presenting is something interesting actually.
Yeah. So we have to address the missing element here, which is like, are you guys going to pick stock audio, or are you going to have some composer join and add music element
Mm-hmm.
to it? You know, you have to think about that.
Yeah.
Stock audio. Just to make it. Can you see them? I think it's I can't see half of the room. Can you
by the
see
way, I
everyone,
mean,
Nick?
it's really simple to, you
Like,
know, it doesn't have to be music. Like, it's really easy to just create some kind of soundscape. I mean, you could walk outside your door and you can record whatever's going on out there, and then you can speed it up or slow it
Yeah.
down, or like we could create four really it's very, very simple if anyone is you know, interested in doing that. It doesn't have to be music. And actually, that could be potentially more exciting, given that we are talking about cinema and movie. Like, it could be, actually, you could maybe, you know, record some dialogue or have two people. Like, it could be that then we add this sort of cinematic quality of, oh, it's just a sound, or it's just a, you know, a bell ringing, or it's that then it's a little bit more personal than music, and that's really easy to do.
Yeah. You could like narrate a poem or something that goes, like, you could read out a poem or something that goes with the theme, and that, you know.
Or
Yeah.
I
dialect,
mean,
you know, or each film of our favorite art
you could record the
director.
TV, or yeah. I mean,
And I
I mean, and right now, I mean, the things that I'm about to launch to are all spoken word, and they are, which is why I'm saying, you know, I'm in this at the moment, so I am doing exactly what we're discussing. But I'm just saying, maybe that also is, maybe that's a more interesting way of doing it than sort of, I don't know, just stock music. Oh, Sakshi's disappeared.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was having
But
trouble seeing.
you know that I
So
mean it's really easy, and everything I've been doing currently has just been on my phone. But the impact is really strong. I mean, you could just record a phone ringing, you could just record birds singing or something that when people listen to them, it's like, oh, and they get absorbed that way.
I love
I
it.
like
I love it.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
to me
yeah.
is quite sexy.
Sorry, I have a question because I'm not really working with AI. Uh, does it possible to in AI space that we order a music, by, for example, I work in Bresson movies. So can it's possible to order in AI that's, for example, with five different music in uh, for example, Bresson movies, we can make new music. I don't know. Is it possible even?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've never
Just
dealt
came
with
into my
AI.
mind.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
it's a good idea, but I've
Hey
never
guys,
dealt
I'm
with
sorry
it.
to there's a 9 a.m. DAO download that goes on this stream here, so we'll have to kind of wrap this up. I think in terms of next step, I created a Twitter group where we can continue this conversation. I think what I'll do is I'll share a Google Doc. If everyone can put their Google email address in that group, I'll go ahead and share it, and we can start collaborating on a wireframe and take this forward, and we can do this again interactively next in a few days. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Nick.
that all sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to chat with everyone. Sorry to cut this short, but I know the stream is needed with the other team. So, all right.
Thank you
Yeah.
for putting it
Thank you
Thank
together.
so much.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Nice
so
to
much,
see you
guys.
guys.
Nice
Bye,
to see you
guys.
guys.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.